Anime onlys, gotta ask, how'd you feel about my boy Shinso? Please, be honest. I really want to hear your honest opinions on my boy Shinso. I know at the end of the day, he lost. I know this. However, I need to ask, how do you feel about his character? His characterization to what he stands for, and how he could have easily have went down the wrong path if something happened in his life because of his quirk ability. I'm very curious, and so before I begin to talk about his character, to my personal feelings on the episode as a manga reader that has now watched it in anime form, I just need to know how you anime onlys feel about Shinso and what he stood for throughout the entirety of this episode. So with that being said, Shinso as a character is a character that honestly is a wonderful representation to what Boku no Hero Academia is. And what I'm getting at is that his character and the way it was described perfectly goes along with the main importance of what this season of Boku no Hero Academia is going to be about. Shinso is a character, a person that was given an ability. He was gifted with an ability to where he can use brainwashing. And when you think about this ability, brainwashing, think about what you can do with it. You can go up to someone in a store and say, I would like all the items in the back of the shelf. And obviously, if the person replies or whatever does anything, obviously, he has complete control over them. And because of that, this ability can be used for evil. Doing villainous things. Doing things that are not just at all. But it would be easy to do because you could easily get away with it. No one could really stop you. I mean, think about it. You just walk up, say, I want this, and someone could say no or whatever, you can't have that, but regardless if they reply to you at all, you automatically win, and then you just get everything. And it doesn't matter because you can just walk out of the store and all that, because the person gave it to you. And when you look at it like that, you can also commit some even more heinous stuff. I mean, think about if this was a seinen for a second, okay? Let's say Boku no Hero Academia was set in, let's say, Berserk, okay? Just go that far. I know it's not, but hypothetical. If Boku no Hero Academia was set in Berserk, like that type of saying where it was that mature, it could be that dark, okay, for one moment or whatever. If Shinso's character was in that world, imagine if he was a villain or whatever, and he said, go feed yourself to the demons. You would. So when you look at it like that, you could really do some evil stuff with this ability. And it's a quirk ability that normally you would think a villain would have. But in this case, that doesn't happen. Horikoshi decides to give a good person an ability that could necessarily be used for harm, doing heinous stuff. And that really shows the type of writing Horikoshi wants to do. How sometimes quirk abilities that some of these individuals are gifted could wind up being used for evil purposes, but may turn out to be used for good purposes. For instance, brainwashing. And that makes Shinso's character very fascinating, because like I said, the way his character is, the way his upbringing was, if it was something was wrong with it at all, he could have became a villain. Easily. No questions asked. Easily could have become a villain. I mean, look at how he felt about Izuku and all that, okay? Let's just say he was a little bit more selfish, or he was a little bit more prideful, okay? And he didn't want to admit defeat or whatever. The man could have easily have manipulated people to move himself into the hero course. Easily. He could have. He could have talked to the right people, manipulated them with brainwashing, could have been in the hero course. He could have done something. Just a lot of planning and all that what he needs to do. And also, because of how someone like Izuku could get into it and all that, it also shows that there's others that can't get into it, even if they were gifted a quirk ability. I mean, think about it. Izuku is a character that he didn't have a quirk ability. He wasn't born or blessed with a quirk ability. He never had that at all. And the only reason why was because he managed to meet All Might. All Might gave him one for all. And because of that, he was able to become a hero. But this could also be said for even others that were blessed with a quirk ability. Even if you're given a quirk ability, doesn't automatically make you a hero. Doesn't make it to where it's a possibility for you to be a hero. And that is the cold, harsh reality of this world. You can have an insane ability, brainwashing, because that's a really good ability, but it doesn't mean you can be a hero, because some laws might restrict you from being a hero. Think about it like this. the entire hero course, the setup for it. Aizawa Sensei even stated, like, how the course is handled, it doesn't make any sense, because it's entitled more for the physical Quirk users. People that are more physical with their abilities, they can easily become a hero, whilst those heroes that use more mental abilities, maybe brainwashing, reading minds, or whatever, they won't have a chance at this course, because, you know, there was just robots they were fighting and all that, saving people. So when you look at it, you're like, this makes sense. Even people that are gifted Quirk abilities could not become a hero because of the system, because of the laws of the world, how heroes are made in the first place. And this automatically would make people very upset. There's many individuals, even in real life, that probably have the potential for great things, to do many great things, but they didn't get the chance because of the way the world works, because of society. And when you look at it, you realize, if our character Shinso was warped in any way, or probably didn't have the proper upbringing, he could have went down the wrong path. And that's kind of what this episode really wants to represent. His sense of justice and what type of person Shinso is. He is a good dude. He is a good man. He is someone that's not easily swayed into doing evil acts. He does care. And he tries to showcase that example to Izuku at the end of, the match, when he's like, Izuku, you need to understand that there's going to be people out there you need to not trust as easy or whatever, or not speak to me like this, or tell me your true feelings. And he quickly takes over Izuku to prove a point. I mean, Izuku, he lets Izuku go. He was just showing a point that Izuku, normally people wouldn't trust me because I could easily just control them. But to see how you walked up to me and all that, and we're doing that, it's very honorable. But it's at the same time, it's very risky to do. And that was just to show you the actual grave situation of how there could be people out there with this type of ability. Villains out there with similar abilities to where they could easily control you. And so imagine if an ability like this, like someone walked up to All Might, okay, and said, hey, go punch a hole in this building. All Might actually did the proper requirements for this brainwasher, obviously he'd be controlled, and then he could probably do some really evil things. So that's kind of what I want to show. Basically, Shinso is teaching Izuku a lesson, letting him know that at the same time, he respects Izuku for walking up to him and looking at him as an individual, not someone to be feared or scared of because he has an evil ability, but the fact that also he needs to be aware that there could be people that could still use this for bad deeds, or others out there, and he needs to be very cautious of it to who he talks to. So, great stuff from this episode when it came to Shinso versus Izuku's match. Now, getting into the nitty-gritty details, let's talk about what Izuku saw to get out of, the brainwashing. Many are going to be confused, and I don't want to dive into deep details of that scene because spoilers. I, however, will say things that are very obvious from this episode that navigate away from spoilers. When it comes to it, we obviously can see from the way All Might reacted to Izuku talking about whatever he saw, All Might was obviously hiding something. There was more there than meets the eye, because the way he talks about, yeah, I'm glad I was shown or whatever, basically to Recovery Girl, that we know there's something else going on there. Whatever, Izuku saw was something that has more importance, but All Might just didn't share it at all. And we know that Izuku saw 8 individuals inside of him, and he did see someone like All Might inside of him, and All Might even clarifies most likely that's the people that had the previous, one for all ability, passed down through generations, and that is, what Izuku saw. And All Might says that it's not possible for them to interact with you. It's just kind of like it's a lingering part of the ability, the Quirk ability that's there. They can't interact with you. They can't do anything. They're just kind of like there. They don't interfere with what you do. But Izuku even states that he didn't have control. He did the force, he did the startup, but he didn't move. He even states that in this episode, which kind of adds a lot of confusion, because All Might tried to say some stuff, but then he tried to quickly cover it up, and then he hinted at something else was going on once Izuku left the room. So there's a lot of mysteries around that scene that we need to actually ask ourselves what was really going on there. Why would All Might not want to tell him at all? A lot of questions could build up from that scene. Now, with all that being stated, let's talk about the Todoroki stuff. So Todoroki, as we know, we got clarification to his past, his connection with his father, what happened to his face, his mother, how he's basically a masterpiece in his father's eyes because he was just born just to be a weapon against All Might, basically to surpass him and be the #1 hero. So obviously Izuku has some, daddy issues. He doesn't like his father at all. And you could see from Endeavor that he is a real scumbag. He walks up to his son and says, "You're my masterpiece," and all that, straight up to his son. So it just shows you what type of father he is. He's not that good of a father. He's even an ass to his, son, point blank. He doesn't try to hide or anything. He's just being complete scum to his son, point blank. Not even really caring about who he is. Just stating, "Stop being rebellious because I need you to be number one here," just to further his goals, what he wants in life. And Todoroki getting angry from that, he takes out his aggression on his opponent in this episode, and we see the power of his eyesight, which, that's devastating, because, like, when you saw the ice just shoot out over the entire stadium, that just showed you the power. It showed you the power of Todoroki. He is not someone that you can underestimate. Like, that man has a lot of power with his quirk ability, and just imagine this, okay? Just picture this. If he has that much power with his eyesight, imagine how his fire sight is. Imagine if he used both sides at once. That's the power he has. So it makes sense why Endeavor would say he's a masterpiece, but at the same time, though, we can understand why he doesn't want to use his fire sight because of his father. Just like the power behind Todoroki and what he did, damn. But you gotta like those emotions, how he let, his anger get the better of him, and he's like, "I'm sorry." He didn't try to, cover it up and all that and say, like, "Oh, it's your fault." He legit basically said, "Sorry, I got angry." He admitted that to his opponent. So it shows that he's not an asshole. Yes, he can be an asshole at times. He's blunt, may not know how to interact with the said individual, but he doesn't do things for the wrong reasons. He's trying the best of his abilities to be a nice guy, and when he says sorry and all that, it just shows that he was, really concerned and all that. He didn't mean it. It's just he let his anger get the better of him, and that's what happened. But that also shows how dangerous his quirk ability is. I mean, think about it. If the man gets angry and he just shoots his, ice somewhere, he could possibly kill someone. That's a dangerous quirk ability. So, yeah, that's something also this episode wanted to show, that sometimes getting emotional or whatever could be very bad because of the way you use your quirk ability. It could possibly cause some harm. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this week's episode of Boku no Hero Academia? I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.